Let's go!
It's the LA Football Podcast.
Touchdown Ram!
Recovered by the Chargers.
Touchdown UCLA!
With USC great and NFL stud, Frostee Rucker.
The Trojans back in front!
And LAFB founder Ryan Dyrud on the Bleav Podcast Network and LAFBnetwork.com. This is your destination for Los Angeles football.
What's up, Los Angeles? This is the LA Football Podcast. I am your co-host, Ryan Dyrud, joined, as always, by Frostee Rucker. Excited to talk a little football today. Got football finally live back. Frostee, what's going on, man?
Hey, not too much, man. Excited to talk about today's show. You know, we're going to go over a little bit of Hard Knocks for those folks that haven't seen it. It's a show on HBO. Ryan, you got anything for them?
Yeah, man. I'm excited. I don't know if I've been this excited about Hard Knocks in a long time. Covers both the teams that we happen to cover. So pretty fortunate that we have stuff to talk about because we got the Rams and the Chargers both getting covered. I'm really curious how they're going to do it, whether they're going to go back and forth. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, 30 minutes on, 30 minutes off. Who goes first? Who's going to be pissed off? I'm here for it.
Yeah, there's always going to be a fan that's like, man, we didn't get enough airtime. They showed more of Rams, not enough Chargers. They showed more Chargers. So I'm sure that'll be in the back of their minds, and I would assume that they'll break it up pretty dang evenly. What do you expect us to see kind of right off the bat as these guys check into camp? Obviously, they've been in camp now a week because they've been filming this whole time. But what do you kind of expect us to see on like the television screen as the first look of these players?
One thing I'm expected to see is a lot of Joey Bosa and a lot of Aaron Donald, obviously. The second thing, I think they're going to open up with a little bit of conditioning. And us big boys do not like that.
No, I mean, I'm not a big boy, and I hated conditioning. Worst thing ever. I remember doing, off-season programs all year, or all off-season, obviously, all summer long and stuff, and you get back finally to camp, and it wasn't like an NFL training camp, but getting back to, your 2-a-days and stuff that you get to, and what kind of work you put in the summer really displayed in front of the coaches where you're doing that. Obviously, we're in a way different scenario this year because there was no off-season program. All these guys were conditioning on their own. There's some players that have come out and said, hey, I had no distractions. All I did was condition. All I did was run, took care of my body. I wasn't distracted going to the movies. I wasn't going to festivals, no Coachella. I wasn't out there doing that. I was just training. What do you think, though, we'll see? Do you think we'll see that the bulk of the players are be well conditioned? Or are there going to be guys that kind of just sat quarantined and didn't do much, and they're in for a rude awakening here?
Well, Ryan, it's just such an interesting spot. Obviously, 13 seasons I did a conditioning test every single year, and I was the one lobbying to the coach, please, can we just finish it up in the spring because we worked really hard and, we did all this conditioning program. Let's just do the test now and trust us that we'll come back in tip-top shape. But with that being said, there's no spring ball, there's no mini camp, OTAs, all that jazz is out the window. So it's really going to say who was working and who was not.
You always hear conditioning test. At least, I don't know if it was different on every team. What actually went into the conditioning? Like what drills? What was it? Just straight sprints? What was the conditioning test?
Yeah, certain teams do different things. It's usually just sprints. Little guys, they get to go a further distance, which I enjoy to watch them because they really had to open up a little bit and get to their times. The big boys condense the time a little bit, condense the yards, 20 yards or 40 yards, depending on what your strength staff really wanted to see. Mm-hmm. But for me, as I got older, I was just begging the coach to pull me out because once you get like to year 10, 11, you've done enough, save your legs. But when you're young, you got to get to moving.
Yeah. So what actually happened if you quote unquote failed these? So let me ask you this. Was there a set time? So for you, in instance, was there, okay, Frostee's got to hit this time every 20-yard sprint, and if you failed, you just kept doing it till you passed? Or was it like, okay, they're not putting you on like the NFI list just because you didn't pass the conditioning test, right?
Well, no, you have to do it over until you pass it. It's not that day, but the next day of camp, you got to get back up maybe early in the morning, and they may trim it down a little bit because there's a lot of nerves. Mm-hmm. A lot of teams, the ownership and the GM, they're not around a lot. They're up doing the business of upstairs. But when it comes to your conditioning test, you get ownership, you get the GM, you get all the player personnel. They're all in the field. So you get the little heebie-jeebies going, and you may not run as fast as you usually would. A lot of excitement, just being like one of the first days coming back. Mm-hmm. And it just varies, man. But nevertheless, it's an exciting time, and you better make your times because now your teammates are looking around at you like, did you not pass this test?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I remember when we were in there in our high school season and we all took like a pact together, like, hey, no drinking in the season. That's kind of that was our pact together to, put
Oh,
the best.
Colorado.
Yeah.
No Coors Lights, right?
No Coors Lights. That's right. Take it out. Wait till the off season. Wait till November. So it's kind of similar. You're in this off season and especially during this crazy off season. And it's like, I don't know if these guys made pacts necessarily, but like, hey, who was the guys slacking off all off season, didn't come ready to work in this, unparalleled situation. So it'll be fun to see. I'm sure they show that on Hard Knocks, these conditions. I know every season I've watched, they do show a little bit of it. Obviously it'll probably be more of a focal point this one, just because of everything going on. So
Right.
it'll be fun to watch. I know Aaron Donald looks like he's probably well conditioned from what I could tell.
Yeah, I'm sure that guy can do a bench press contest of 40s, 20s, 110s. It doesn't matter. That guy's always dialed in, ready to rock.
I think he's fine. It's fun watching the quarterbacks and the kickers and all those guys do conditioning tests. They're not guys that are really running around.
Yeah, that's the only time you look at the kickers like, you guys better run.
That's it. That's it.
Because all they do is play golf and kick.
That's it. Yeah, they don't do anything. Even in practice.
Nothing.
They're off to the side doing their own thing half the time, just dicking around. So, okay, cool. But yeah, Frost, I think it'd be fun to get into some position battles. There's going to be a lot of them. There always is every camp. I'm sure Hard Knocks will highlight them so we can kind of talk to our listeners about kind of who to watch for, but also just through this entire process, these 4 weeks, who to read up on in these articles. You can go to LAFBnetwork.com to check that out. Shameless plug there. So just the guys that you're watching to really not only make the team, but the guys you're looking for to start. So I think let's get into that a little bit. Frost, do you want to start first? Do I want to start first? Should we go Rams, Chargers? How do you want to decide who goes first here?
Well, we could go old-fashioned and use a coin toss, but here's the kicker. I don't have a coin. Do you have one?
I'm looking at a quarter right now, actually. I had a couple on my desk. So
we can do ice cream man?
Yeah, apparently. My 4-month-old daughter wanted a little one of those pops. So
that's awesome. So you want to go heads, Rams, tails, Chargers?
That works.
That brings you back to the story. Hold on. So Derek Carr, obviously he's the Raiders quarterback. Mm-hmm. He always goes tails. I mean, this is a little insider thing. He always goes tails. So we're captains. Yeah, right. That's his thing. So 2018, I'm a captain. We're walking on the field, and I'm expecting heads. I always go heads. Mm-hmm. And he does tails, and he didn't get it. I forget what game it was, the first one we did. And I just looked at him like, why didn't you do heads? He's like, because I always go tails, bro. And I'm like, no, go heads. And he won maybe 3 of them, but I'm a heads guy. So knock yourself out.
You said heads, Chargers?
Yeah, heads, Chargers.
Okay. How many times were you a captain? You just remind me. I know you were quite a few years you were a captain. How many years?
2 years I was a captain.
2 years. Very cool. That's such a, I'm sure, awesome honor. So being out there.
Yeah, it's an honor, man. And especially at the tail end of your career where they trust you. And it means a lot that your teammates actually vote for that award.
Yeah, I think that's why it's so meaningful. So I was a hockey captain a few times.
Never. Well, it works. It works. They trusted you.
Yeah, something like that. So, all right, cool. So let's flip this. I'm gonna do this on camera. Here's the other question with flipping a coin. Some people just flip it and how it lands, what it is. Some people catch it and flip it. What's the protocol there? Because I know in the NFL,
you just area, so you just try to catch it if you could.
Okay, let's do it here. Receiver hands, right? All right, heads it is. I don't know if you know if you can see that.
Crowd goes around.
Crowd goes wild. Frosty and the Chargers position battles to watch for. You can start us off.
Okay, I'm gonna start with Trey Pipkins. This is a second-year player, 3rd-round pick out of Sioux Falls. I think that's in South Dakota. You want to quote me on that one?
It is, yeah. It is.
You want to fact check me?
No,
okay, out of Sioux Falls. Yeah, so I think the coaches are very high on him. He's a little of a project, as you like to say. As a player, I didn't like hearing that because it's like I'm here for a reason, right? So we got him. We got Sam Tevy, a little bit older, 4th-year player out of Utah. Pac-12 shout out right there. Mm-hmm. Again, another guy that they have high hopes. Draft pick. Let's see how he pans out. Then we got Forrest Lamp. No confusion with Forrest Gump here out of Western Kentucky. He's a 2nd-round pick out of 2017 draft. He's battled some injuries. They like him. They didn't go out in free agency to find a tackle. This is going to be interesting. And the last guy on my list here is Storm Norton, a.k.a. Storm and Norman. He's out of Toledo, but he last played in the XFL out of the LA team. I'm really pumped to see how he competes in this training camp. Obviously, when you come from a different league, They want to see what you got. Obviously, he did something on tape that stuck out. He didn't have to move. He weathered that storm.
Nice. Well
You
done.
like that one? You like
Well
that
done.
one?
Yeah.
So, again, that's the camp battle that I'm looking for, is the left tackle position that is going to be blocking for Tyrod Taylor or big draft pick Herbert.
Yeah, no, that's the most important. Obviously, a lot of people will talk about the quarterback position you just mentioned with Tyrod Taylor and Justin Herbert, but I think for now we kind of know what it's going to be. Tyrod Taylor's going to be the starter. There's just not enough offseason time for Herbert to get caught up to speed.
And Coach Lynn has already said that. So
Coach Lynn's come out, unless Herbert just blows everyone out of the water in training camp, which he could, but that's not what I'm really looking for, because I think they're in a good spot starting with Tyrod and easing Herbert into it. So
absolutely.
So I love the left tackle position you mentioned. It's a position they didn't address, not only in free agency, but didn't address in the draft either.
Right. So they feel good about it. They got to feel good about these guys.
They have to. The Rams are another team that didn't address the offensive line. So I know fans have looked at both the left tackle position for the Chargers and the overall offensive line for the Rams, and there's a lot of kind of upset fans, if you will. They didn't address it, but it just shows the organizations on both sides are happy with what they got. And they're obviously very big on Trey Pipkins, who you mentioned. Forrest Lamp's another guy who's played guard since he came to the NFL, but he was a great tackle at Western Kentucky. When they took him in the second round, he has the frame. He's a little smaller, 6'4", but if needed to, he's athletic enough. He could do it, but it's just been injuries. So for him, it's can he stay healthy? He probably provides maybe the most talent, but then I love Pipkins and I love, Storm and Norman. I loved watching him at the Wildcats in LA, and I hope he's got an uphill battle, obviously, but technically he's played football the most recently, so maybe he'll be in the best shape.
Absolutely. And out of all those picks, that's 4 guys I brought up. 3 of them are draft picks. So they want to hold on to their guys. It looks like they're going to wait to see how they compete, who's healthy, who trained all, this whole COVID break, and we're all rooting for Storm.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, maybe they'll keep all 4. Who knows? I doubt it, but you never know. Okay, so I'll jump over to the Rams, and opposite of you, I think this is why we flow good together, Frost. You're always going to go the big guys. I'll always go the smaller skill guys. So I'll start. I'm going to look at not technically one of these starting 11, but I'm going to look at the nickel corner position. I think the Rams are pretty fairly set with at least in their defensive backfield. Obviously, the safeties, I think, are pretty set with John Johnson, Taylor Rapp. Their starting corners, Jalen Ramsey, Troy Hill is most likely going to be starting on the other side of him. Backers is still kind of a question mark, because that's a position I could look at. But I look at nickel corner because of what Brandon Staley is going to do on this defensive scheme he's going to run. They're going to do not a lot of base packages, but they're going to do a lot more nickel, a lot more dime. So they're going to be roving in one of these nickel corner, nickel safeties, if you want to call it, into that. So I look at David Long Jr., draft pick from last year out of Michigan, I believe in the 3rd round. Love his length, big, lanky guy. Played really well last year when he came in. So he's the guy to really watch through camp, how he progresses. He's kind of who I have slotted in as their starting nickel guy. Could even end up being more on the outside, and maybe they move Troy Hill inside to play that nickel spot. But I like David Long Jr. Darius Williams out of UAB, and the camp darling last year. I know Sean McVay is super high on him. Was kind of a surprise guy that not a lot of fans knew about. But once he kind of got into the rotation and we saw him on Sundays, played really well. So another guy I like to look at. And the last one I'm going to mention is technically not a corner. Drafted him out of Utah. Another shout out to Pac-12, Terrell Burgess, this year in the 3rd round. But he's so versatile that he can play really anywhere in the back end of the defense. So I really like what he can do and what he'll be able to do, whether he's close to the line, whether he's playing deep, whether maybe even he slots out at safety and they move John Johnson or Taylor Rapp up in the nickel. So really able to do a lot with their scheme there. So that's a position, though, I want to see who's going to be the guy rotated in. And I love Burgess. I love what he did, and he really only showcased 1 year at Utah because he was kind of finding his way and really played great last season. So still kind of raw, but the talent's there. But I think the guy kind of in the lead right now would be David Long Jr., just being, a 2nd-year player, being a 3rd-round pick. But again, all these guys are coming in and they're favorites of the coaching staff, and I think we'll see good things out of them.
Yeah, and you picked the nickel position, which is very huge. A lot of people don't understand. It's not just 3rd down when they're running nickel packages. This is the key to offenses these days. Offenses spread teams out. They bring in extra tight ends. They bring in running backs, and it has to be a key guy that can handle these matchups because, as you watch on every Sunday, offenses run tricky plays. They got crossing rub routes and whatnot, and the nickelback is very important in today's game.
Absolutely. I mean, just looking at this specific team, the Rams, Sean McVay made the 11 personnel famous. I mean, obviously it's been run before, but he made it so famous because they ran it like 98% of the time. For those that don't know, that means you're running with 3 receivers, 1 tight end, and a running back. You're not going to have your base 3-4 middle linebacker covering that slot receiver. It's not going to do it. So you're running a lot more nickel. And one little fun tidbit for us, so you'll learn as we do the show. I love doing these random little tidbits and facts.
Break it down.
Brandon Staley followed Vic Fangio from Chicago to Denver. So he kind of, all we really know about Brandon Staley is he was an offensive guy when he did some college coaching, and then he moved over to defense when he got on Vic Fangio's staff. So we would assume he's going to be taking some of those schemes and concepts with him now to here to LA. So when he was in Chicago under Vic Fangio, who was then D coordinator, the Bears only ran their base package, their base 3-4, 15 to 16% of the plays. There's going to be a lot of nickel packages, a lot of dime packages. So this nickel battle in camp is probably one of the most important.
Speed kills, buddy. Speed kills.
That's right. So, all right, Frost, back to the Chargers side. I guess we'll just keep it easy. You stick with the Chargers like with the Rams. So who's your second, I guess?
You sure you don't want to do another coin toss?
We could. I mean, I still got the
No. I won. I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
Back to you.
Good. So I'm going to go to D-line here. So obviously the Chargers got a huge accusation this offseason. They got big Linval Joseph out of Minnesota. This guy plugs the middle. He runs fast, coming out of a Mike Zimmer defense based off penetration and getting in the backfield. So he's going to be right in the mix. Obviously probably penciled in as a starter. Yeah. You got big Justin Jones, third-round pick, third year coming back. High hopes. Right now looks like he's the opposite starter of big Linval Joseph. And a guy we really need to be paying attention to is Jerry Tillery. Out of Notre Dame, last year's first-round pick. The guy is 6'6". Some say 305, some say 300. I'm going to give him 295 because he probably ran a little bit more. We have high hopes from this guy. Mm. He somehow needs to get in this mix. Obviously, a first-round pick, but then bringing over big Linval, that causes a little controversy, a little pride, ego check. So hopefully he worked his tail off this whole COVID break, and he's ready to really compete.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch Jerry. And I love Linval Joseph. I think that was a great signing, just as some veteran leadership, because it's a really young group. I think it's a group that I want to say it struggled, but the Chargers were not one of the better rush defensive teams last year, so they really need to shore that up, and that includes a linebacking core, which we can get to later if needed. Yeah. But I think bringing in Linval is going to totally help that out. Justin Jones has been kind of a surprise player, so he's played really, really well. And but Jerry Tillery, he was drafted last year to be the guy. He showed glimpses, showed some athleticism that he obviously has, being the size you mentioned. So it'll just be seeing if he can really make that leap and that transition to become the guy they drafted last year in the first round. Before I move to the Rams, the last guy I want to say comes from, I don't know if it's your neck of the woods, but obviously you play for the Bengals, but out of Cincinnati, big Cortez Broughton, who they actually drafted in the 7th round last year, he sat in my apartment right here first time when he moved to LA.
Really?
So I love Tez. He's an awesome guy. I'm always pulling for him just because of the relationship we built right when he moved here. So rooting for him too. So he's a smaller frame guy, but still plays with a lot of heart, and love to see how that Bearcat can do.
Well, let's go, Big Tez.
Yeah. So, look out for Tez. He'll be fighting. Made the team last year it was surprising he made the team last year considering the depth they had at the position. So it shows what he has to bring to the table. So, all right, back to the Rams for me. There's a lot of positions I could go here, Frost. I was thinking sticking with the interior defense line as well, like you with the Chargers. Obviously, big news if you didn't hear. A'Shawn Robinson, their big acquisition from Detroit, is sidelined with a apparent cardiovascular injury. We don't know the details of it, so I'm not going to talk on it because I don't want to talk on something I don't know. But obviously, he will be sidelined for the foreseeable future. So, get well soon, A'Shawn. But obviously, that's the position now when you look at depth there. You have Sebastian Day, you have great games they drafted. But I'm actually going to focus on one that doesn't get focused on a lot. I'm going to look at the kicker position. You gave some love. You gave some love to punters a few episodes ago. I'm going to give some love to kickers because for the first time in 5-6 years, the Rams don't know who their starting kicker is. It's always been Greg the Leg, who's obviously one of the league's best. And now they have 3 guys battling out. They drafted Sam Sloman in the 7th round this year. I had him on the show. Awesome kid out of the University of Miami, Ohio. They have, I always say this guy's name wrong, but Liram Harijula, if I'm saying that right, played in the CFL. He played in the CFL. Very successful career in the CFL. Little older, but he has obviously the age and the veteranship at the room going for him. And then Austin McGinnis, who also had some success last year in the XFL, another XFL guy. So I think he is a guy that played on the big stage, not obviously as big as the NFL, but did some big things for the St. Louis Battlehawks. So it'll be a fun battle to watch. I'm not an expert on kickers, but I think right now Sam Sloman's probably the leader just because he was actually drafted this year. So a guy that they used capital to bring in to compete. But the kicker's important, man. We watched the Rams lose, 3 games last year?
And that's
3 points or less?
And that's why they made the moves they made. And we get to watch it unfold on Hard Knocks, which, again, this is what this show's all about. We get to see these camp battles, and these guys aren't going to be playing golf. They have plenty of time. Now they got to kick it through the uprights.
That's right. And I think that will be – I don't have any sources here. I feel like that will be a group feature on Hard Knocks, because how often do you have a 3-kicker battle in camp? Usually you have a leader and you have a guy, undrafted guy coming in just maybe trying to make a name for himself. But there's legit 3 guys competing for the starting job. So I think it'll be featured group.
Good. That's fair. Yeah, featured group. You heard it first here.
That's right. So, all right, man. Well, hey, those are the camp battles that we're looking for. I think a lot of good's going to come from it. I'm looking really forward to watching Hard Knocks, which airs Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Pacific. Ross, are you going to be watching it?
Oh, I always watch Hard Knocks. It's such a great show. Gives us fans, now that I can say I'm a fan, gives us fans a inside, in-depth look at what's going on, who's talking, who's not, and who's just working. So we got a lot of stuff to catch up on, but we're going to start with Hard Knocks.
Yeah, absolutely. And it'll give us a really good inside look, and especially in a year where you and I weren't able to attend camp because of everything going on, really no one will be attending camp other than probably the team media. So it'll give all of us the opportunity to just see what's going on.
I was looking forward to it too, man.
I know. Looking forward to it. So was I. I've been counting down since basically once the XFL ended, which shout out to the XFL, it just got bought by The Rock. We can throw that out there.
They're back out there.
Yeah, with The Rock among others. I don't know all the enterprise names right now, but The Rock was kind of the headline name. But when the XFL shut down in early March, that was kind of when sports ended, and especially live coverage for me ended. So I've been waiting for training camp. Great, be on the field again, be around the guys, and then basically they're like, yeah, team media is it.
And I was glued to the tube when XFL was on, so I'm so happy they're back. Maybe they got some more positions for us to come back. Maybe this is the league we need while all this gray area is going on with college sports.
Totally. Well, and it'll be, and this will be a little tangent here. We can talk about it maybe on the next episode a little bit, but it'll be interesting to see if the XFL, especially now with all this news swirling about potentially the Big Ten, potentially the Pac-12 ending their seasons, and what other big conferences will end. Will the XFL take that and say, well, hey, we allow 18-year-olds to come and make money playing football. We're gonna really push to launch again in spring. We have 6 months to get protocols in place. You're sitting out your junior year anyway. Come to the XFL, play a season, you'll be eligible for the draft after that.
A lot of decisions to be made. A lot of guys are going to be picking agents, and we're going to see how flexible the NCAA is in this whole transition. Do they let them come? Do they let them explore without losing eligibility? There's just so much that we can talk about, but we can carry on with that the next episode.
Yeah, we'll get that next episode. Speaking of next episode, have a great guest coming on. Frost will hold this one close to his heart because he played at USC. Now he's on the Chargers.
Play the fight song. Okay.
Uchenna Nwosu is going to be coming on linebacker for the Chargers, so it'll be a lot of fun to talk with him. He'll give us some camp stories, hopefully, and talk some college days. I'm sure you guys can reminisce on that.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to him. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of his. I always pay attention to the guys coming out of SC, getting a shot in the league. Always love getting a chance to talk to him after game, doing warm-ups. And now we get to watch him this year exclusively playing for our home teams. So I'm happy that he is a Charger and happy he's coming on.
Yeah, it's kind of cool how many actual Trojan and Bruins both play here in LA with the Rams and Chargers. So there's a few. Obviously, Joshua Kelly just got drafted. A few guys on both, Robert Woods, Bobby Trees, if you want to call him that.
Right.
But, it's fun.
Yeah, and I got shipped to Cincinnati, and these guys get to just stay in their college apartments.
Right,
nice.
Yeah. Didn't even have to. They might be still eating dorm food. I mean, not right now, but, maybe a couple years ago were.
For sure.
All right, Frost. Well, hey, that was fun. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the LA Football Podcast. Make sure to email us your questions. Frost got a new email? Frostee
I do. It's frosteepodcast@yahoo.com. Email me all your questions, any beefs that you have with me. I'll answer all of them.
Yeah. Go ahead. Let them know
I was
what you
kidding.
think. Let them know what you think about Frostman, or you can email the general email podcast at LAFB Network. You can find us on social media. The Organic Frost is Frosty on all the channels. I am Ryan Dyrud, LAFB. The main account is LAFB Network. Frost, anything to say before we sign off?
Hey, just get ready for Hard Knocks. We're going to be all tuned in since it's the most in-depth approach and look that we all get to see. And we're going to have a lot to say about it. And we'll be able to bring these guests on one by one. And
yeah, a lot of fun stuff coming up. So tune in later this week. I know it was a little hiatus. We'll be back at it, hopefully 2 days a week going forward. I missed you, Frost. It was too long.
hey, I'm here. We're back.
I missed you. We're back. So, all right, guys, stay healthy, stay safe. This is the LA Football Podcast.